Hey, my friends, welcome to day number 13 of our Stretching for Flexibility Challenge. Glad you're here. Today we have inner thighs and hip flexors from a kneeling and seated position. So if you're like, nope, not kneeling, it's okay. Just jump ahead to day number 14. But for those who are ready, let's get started. Warm up one through those hip flexors, even though this is a nice little glute stretcher. It does engage those hip flexors, the inner thighs a little bit. And if your back is tall and your abs are engaged, you're going to get a little bit of a hip flexor stretch here, just tiny, but still, it does get it a little bit. Here's 4, 3, 2, and let's go here. A little bit different part of that hip flexor and inner thigh here. Gotta get that blood flowing through those muscles. All right. So today is going to be so good for people who have, who are runners. 3, 2, 1, hikers, people who sit too long, like drive a lot. This is going to be amazing for you. It's going to help you so much. Let's go inner thigh stretch. I'll just show you why here really quickly. So sending those hips back, just doing a little dynamic warm up through those inner thighs here. Good. And one more. Okay, great. Now a little quad stretch. I really want you to focus on keeping those shoulders tall here and trying to kick heel to opposite glute on this one, just to get a little bit of different hip flexor movement here. Okay, here's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so really quickly, a quick illustration so you can understand the importance of keeping those hip flexors stretched. When you sit, so this is the length that your hip flexors are supposed to be, right? Well, when you sit, they become shortened. And if you sit for a long amount of time, these connect, you have a psoas that connects into your lower back, and that starts pulling on your lower back. So if your hip flexors are tight, there's a good chance you might have lower back tightness too. And it's not just your lower back muscles that are tight, it's actually caused more from your hip flexors. So that's why it's so important to get those hip flexors stretched back out. With that being said, let's go to the floor. We're actually going to start with those inner thighs first. We're going to go into a V-sit. So it's just sitting, taking those legs as far apart as comfortable. And then we're going to slowly lean forward. I'll let you decide how low you want to go. But we're going to hold here for a minute. And even having tight inner thighs, adductors, can cause some lower back pain. So keeping all of these, like I said, hamstrings can cause lower back pain, and tight inner thighs, tight hip flexors. If you have underactive glutes or overactive piriformis in that glute area, that can cause lower back pain. It's crazy how much the body is connected and how much one muscle group can affect another muscle group. So we're just going to hang out here for another 10 seconds. Here's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and done. All right, now let's go to a butterfly. So bottom of the feet come together. And then we're just going to lean forward. Hang here for another minute. And so you have the option of doing a little lean forward. That might get more of your hips and the inner thighs. Sitting tall and driving your elbows into your inside of your knees there, your inner thigh area, and pushing those legs down will get some good inner thigh too. It should be a little bit higher up the leg so that it's, because you have 6 muscles in that adductor area, that inner thigh. So that's why we have to do two different stretches. But I'm going to show you another stretch that will get all those muscles. Feels pretty amazing. Okay, 13 seconds left. I obviously need to do this stretch more often. This feels so good. Wow. All right, and there's a minute. Okay, now let's get inner thighs in a different way. We're going to go to a kneeling position. All right, you are going to kick that right leg out. Try to plant your right foot. Left knee is under left hip, and you're just going to hang out here. So we're going to just do about a 30-second hold here. And then I'll show you a different way to stretch. Well, we'll probably do more like 20-second hold here. So trying to plant that foot as much as you can on the floor. Okay, now what we're going to do is you can flex your left foot. You can point your left foot, be on your toe, or you're just going to slowly send your hips back. It's okay to let that right foot come off the floor and set your hip on your heel, your left hip on your heel. And that will change where the stretch is in that inner thigh. So you can decide where in that range of motion you want to stop. If you're like, oh boy, that's tight there, and you just want to hang out here rather than sitting on your heel, that's fine. You go through that range of motion and see what tightness you can find. Okay, so there's a minute. Great. Let's switch sides. If you want to pause the workout and sit in that a little bit longer because you found a lot of tightness there, please do. Okay, this is your workout. You don't have to keep up with me. Let's go to that left side. So we're going to kick that left leg out, plant that left foot on the floor. We're just going to hang out here for a little bit, and then we'll start adding that movement. Okay, so that right knee is under the hip. If you're like, wow, I don't even feel anything, then take your right knee away from the center of your hip and go into that stretch, and you'll feel the stretch even more. Okay. All right. So now let's start adding some movement. So setting your right glute on your right heel, going through that movement slowly as you go down so that you can notice if there's any tightness on this left side. It's okay to let that left foot come off the floor. And maybe this side isn't as tight as the right. I don't know. But we're going to just hang out, going through that whole range of motion. If you find one, you're like, whoa, Nelly, I need to stop there and hang out. Great, do that. And here's a minute. Okay, cool. Time for those hip flexors. We're going to start from the kneeling position to begin with. Plant your right foot in front of you. I'm going to do 2 different stretches, and I'm going to show you one that's really intense. 2 different stretches here first. So all you're going to do is just push that left hip forward. That's it. So you're going to keep your shoulders over your hips. Push that left hip forward. If this is enough in that front right here where your hip flexes, then don't just stay here. But if you want to add a little bit more, then take your left arm overhead, lean back, and that'll push that left hip forward a little bit more. So hopefully that feels good. We're not so I don't want you to be arching so much that your lower back causes lower back pain. That's not what it is here. It's just pushing a slight push forward for that hip flexor. And here's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, relax that just a little bit. We're going to stay on the left knee, but we're going to change it just a little bit. Let me turn this way so you can see better. All right. Same position, shoulders over hips. But now what you're going to do is lean back and to the right just a little bit. Okay, so you're pushing that left hip forward. Lean to the right. If you want that right arm or left arm overhead, you can. You don't have to. but that lean will get a little bit deeper and in a different spot of that hip flexor. So, hey, hip flexors. Oh, hey, hip flexors. They do so much for us. So if you're driving your belly button into your spine, that'll help protect your lower back in case you don't have to do the lean. You could stop and switch legs right now if it's just too much, too intense. You do what you need to do, okay? You have 15 seconds left before we're done with this hip flexor with a lean. And then we'll switch legs. And here's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and done. Okay, cool. Now that hip flexor is stretched, let's switch to that second side. So plant the left foot, push that right hip forward, belly button to your spine. We're just going to keep shoulders over hips. If you want to add that right arm overhead, you can, but you don't have to. The shoulders stay tall over hips. We're not bending at the lower back because then you're going to lose that stretch in the hip flexor. Such simple stretches, right? It's just a matter of doing them and being consistent. For me too. I'm preaching to the choir here. All right, you're 30 seconds in. Oh boy. I'm so grateful for like truck drivers who sit so much and keep America going. You know, farmers who sit in tractors for hours. I'm so grateful for them. I just hope they stretch their hip flexors to keep them healthier. Okay, so come out of that for just a little bit. That was a minute. And now we're going to go back into that, but with the little lean. Okay, ready? So here we go. Push that right hip forward. Now we're going to lean to the left. You can take that right arm overhead to get a little bit deeper stretch in that hip flexor in a different way. If you relax that quad on that right leg and that inner thigh, then it'll go into the hip flexor more to stretch deeper there. You don't have to do your arm overhead. You can just drop it, but please try to keep that lean, okay? So you're doing good. 25 seconds left. Oh, such a good stretch. Pushing that right hip forward. Okay, and here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and done. Okay, cool. Now I promised one more super deep hip flexor stretch. Before we go into that, let's just do a quick child's pose in case that was a lot for your lower back because your lower back's not used to being in that position. Just go child's pose just to get a little stretch. For this super intense last hip flexor stretch, you do not need to do this stretch if you don't want to. You're like, nope, my hip flexors are just fine with those other two you just did. Please don't show me another one because my hip flexors do not want it. That's totally fine. You do not have to do this next one. But just in case you're like, wow, my hip flexors are tight, I need additional help, go grab a chair or the edge of your coffee table, something that's about the height of a chair or a little bit lower. When we stretched the quads and we focused on stretching that vastus lateralis, you remember we did the band over the shoulder and we were trying to stretch out here. This is a better stretch for that vastus lateralis as well. So it all connects right here, right? That outer quad connects right here. It's extremely effective. Just watch the stretch and see what you think, okay? So we're going to put that left foot on the chair or your coffee table or whatever it is, the toe, and then you're going to just be really high. Now, shoulders over hips. We're going to hold here 1 minute. If you can also do this on the wall, put your foot against the wall and then just try to get your back your body as close to the wall as you can. That's harder, in my opinion, at least with the chair. Your toe can be, instead of your toe being flat, your foot being flat against the wall, it's a little bit easier on a chair or a coffee table, but that's an option for you if you're like, I need to stretch this out and all I have is a wall. Well, there you go. But please try to keep your shoulders over your hips here. Massive stretch on that left hip flexor, right? So you have 15 seconds left. And if you have really tight quads, then all you might be feeling right now is your quads. And that's okay. That just means you need this stretch, right? Here's 4, 3, 2, and there's a minute. Okay, now we get to switch legs. So right foot goes on that, or right toe goes on the chair. Plant that left foot. All right, here we go. Back tall, shoulders over hips. How's that feel on this right side? Yeah, it's effective for me. I can tell you that much. Oh boy. So just try to relax that right leg as much as you can. Your left leg is helping you stabilize. If you need to hold on to a wall or something, please do. But the taller you are, the more deeper the stretch. If you lean forward, it's going to take the stretch out of it, okay? So try to be as tall as you can. You're almost done. And you're 20 seconds left. Oh boy. I should have mentioned, I forgot. So if you lean to the left or to the right, it'll change where that hip flexor stretches. So you might need a little bit of a lean. It's up to you. You want to try it. If you want to go back and do the left leg, you can. It's just that little lean. It makes a difference. Okay, that was a minute. Coming out of that. And there is your inner thighs and hip flexors for the day. How'd you like it? Now you're taller, right? Hey, I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to be doing the same muscle groups, but from a seated position. So I will see you tomorrow.